It is no gainsaying that some of the basic infrastructure in Lagos are beginning to dilapidate as time progresses. The Lagos State government under the current administration is promising to put things right before it leaves office. Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of This is Lagos. The Lagos State government has announced plans to provide 20,000 prepaid meters for 5 communities. The State's Commissioner for Energy, Olalere Odusote, says the state identifies the lack of accuracy in payments for electricity as a major hindrance to the adequate supply of power in the state. He says the state government is exploring alternatives to improve distribution.
So these 20,000 meters, like I said, are targeted at the low-income areas. Now, I'll explain why we may have this scenario. Assume that you're a distribution company and you have 100 customers in a certain area. Only 50 of those customers have meters, and at the end of the month, those 50 customers will get their bills, and the bills will reflect their consumption. And if they're on prepaid meters, the meters will only count down on what they pay for. Now imagine the other 50 that don't have electricity meters. The DISCO or the distribution company still has to bill for the additional 50, and so they share that 50 units of energy across the 50 customers. Now, because they don't know what those customers' consumptions are as their no meters, they will make some mistakes. There will be some industries in that area that will get a bill that is not reflective of their consumption, which will be much lower. And then there will be some other customers in that area whose bill will be a lot higher than what they consume, but nobody is able to measure it. And so that creates a problem. So one of the interventions that we're trying to do is to ensure that we then encourage installation and supply of meters. So Mr. Governor has gracefully approved that we will supply 20,000 meters to the DISCO in low-income communities such that we can start to solve the problem. We will do it in a commercial way that will then encourage others to come to the business to do the same things. To do this, we partnered with LSWD, one of the leading smart metering solutions companies, to get those meters in, and we expect to do them by the end of this year. We're also in discussions with the GIZ, the German Development Agency, the customer surveys and good assessments in the pilot areas where we want to implement this pilot metering program. In addition to the pilot metering program, we will also be developing and working on improving the distribution network intervention. We're also in collaboration discussions with African Development Bank on the implementation of the pilot scope through a facility that they will be granting for concessional rates.
The commissioner, who is briefing journalists, acknowledges the lack of street lights on Lagos roads, but gave a deadline to resolving the issues on the light-up project.
Since we came into office, the Lagos State Electricity Board has delivered 3 core programs. One is the rejuvenation of public lighting across Lagos. The second one is the Lagos Solar Program. And the third one is the Lagos Energy Audit Master Plan. On the public lighting, what we've started to do is to replace and repair all of the street lights that are currently defective. And we started across Lagos. We've signed 2 contracts that's going to ensure that not only are the lights and the lines repaired, but the lights are also going to be replaced. We currently have 1,200 kilometers of street lights. At the time we came into office, about 55% of them were working. We're in the process of ensuring that we move from 55% to 100% by the end of July, or before the end of July. In addition to ensuring that they work, we're going to be replacing the high-pressure sulfur street lights that we currently have installed to low energy street lights that we're currently in the process of replacing them with. Now, the reason why this is important is because the LED street lights use up about 25% of the energy of the HDS street lights. So that will tell you that we should reduce our costs significantly.
Over 939 million naira contributed by public and private individuals was spent to resuscitate 10,000 businesses affected during the End SARS protest in Lagos. The Commissioner for Wealth Creation and Employment, Mrs. Yetunde Arobieke, says the state government sees unemployment and underemployment as a major cause for the looting witnessed during the aftermath of the protest. The Commissioner says the state government is looking to improve the business environment for its youth through the State Employment Trust Fund.
We have Ministry of Youth themselves who have a lot of programs that are targeted to attending to our youths and getting them engaged. But one thing that is main is that it's equally one of our pivotal programs in the ministry, making sure they engage, making sure we meet up with their dreams, with LSCTF, and impacting them with economic, what will make them viable.
Mrs. Yetunde Arubieke, while briefing journalists at the state's annual ministerial briefing, also revealed plans to create a leather hub in the state, along with a virtual artisan hub, in order to improve connectivity for small business owners.
By just pressing the link, pressing your area where you are, and getting the list of all artisans, pick your artisans, you will have his details, you will have his telephone number, you will have his address. Call him up and tell him you need this service. And at the end of it all, there is a feedback portion of the portal. We have Cobblers Association, we have those who really sell the leathers themselves. We have exporters of this leather. We brought them all into a hall and we find out from them, do you really need a hall? They said yes.
The Lagos State Governor has promised a swift implementation of the Visitation Panel's report on the crisis rocking the Vice Chancellor position in the Lagos State University. The governor, who received the three-part report from the Special Visitation Panel comprising vastly experienced academia and legal practitioners, said there is a need to ensure transparency in the process of selecting a new VC for the school in order to abate further crisis.
We are inundated. As you're going to see, Mr. Governor, we have 3 volumes over there with the report. We are inundated, as it were, by a miasma of copious and voluminous memoranda and documents from the university community and the public. This memoranda, Mr. Visitor, was scrupulously analyzed. They were dissected and digested by the members of the panel. And at the end, a lot of light was shed on the reasons behind the protest and petitions surrounding the 2 exercises. Mr. Visitor, sir, what we're presenting to you this afternoon is the report of our findings, observations, and recommendations in 3 volumes by the Special Visitation Panel for your consideration. Permit me to say, sir, and emphatically for that matter, and without, as it were, any scintilla of equivocation, that our findings, our observations, and recommendations are based on the memoranda submitted to us. And the face-to-face interactions and interviews that we had with many of the people that submitted memoranda, and who indeed, it will surprise you, held very opposing, disparate, at times antagonistic views and positions on the matter of the appointment of a night Vice Chancellor for the Lagos State University.
The governor, who is the visitor of the school, promised swift implementation of the report once its conclusions tallies with the establishment of information and appointing a new VC.
LASU, as we all know, is rated the 2nd best university, citadel of knowledge in Nigeria, and one of the best 600 in the world. This administration is therefore determined not only to sustain and improve on this tempo of academic excellence, but to ensure that LASU becomes, in the very near future, the first university of choice in Africa. Let me, therefore, on behalf of my cabinet once again thank the chairman and members for this job well done. I'm particularly impressed by the ability of this panel to keep its finding close to its chest, which has helped to prevent information leakage, manipulation, lobby, or unnecessary pressure from all quarters. I want to also thank you for not allowing your individual personal interest to override the purpose for which this panel was constituted, all which will be given credibility to the outcome of this process.
The Lagos State government is moving strongly against fraudulent dealings in the real estate business. The special advisor to the governor on housing, Toke Benson Awoyinka, says tenants and investors also deserve protection, especially with notorious agents and developers swirling the real estate industry.
The Lagos State Real Estate Regulatory Authority Bill is actually a new bill. It's an amendment to an old bill, which is actually broadening the activities, looking at the activities and broadening the regulatory authority or power of the government in making sure that the people of Lagos are protected in every transaction they go into. So with that bill, we as a government are able to monitor transactions. We're able to create a database for negotiators to pick and choose from on our website. We're able to regulate the industry and curb fraudulent activities. So going forward, we also engage in diverse advocacy efforts to curb dubious real estate practices in the state. In part of the things that we have done, we found out that there's a lot of financial activities going on in the real estate industry. So we brought together a group of financial people and a lot of people also in the industry. We had them come to speak to Mr. Governor and speak to the entire people of Lagos. And some of the things that we spoke about specifically at that meeting was how we can curb fraudulent activities in the real estate industry. And most of the activities tend to deal with large transactions. And so we thought, okay, the government shouldn't just make laws. The government should actually bring people together to talk to on transactions. We came up with a 14-man technical committee, which will be looking at activities and financials in the real estate industry. We're going to be looking at activities bordering around off-plan developments. Most of the cases or most of the positions that are coming have been on misappropriation of funds. When people tell us they want to build 5, 10 units in a particular location, they end up not building those units. People would have put down their hard-earned monies. They're able to get these monies back. So we're trying to bring in financial regulations to deal with such things. So Mr. Governor has graciously approved the appointment of the 14-man technical committee that will deliberate and propose suitable financial models to be adopted in the state on the fiscal responsibility and financial responsibility in the real estate sector of the state.
The Lagos State Ministry of Housing, while briefing journalists, says it plans to expand its housing schemes in order to reduce the shanties across the state and enable better planning and road access.
We have been honestly addressing the goal of driving mass housing project development in the state. This is because the housing deficit is in hundreds of thousands. Hence, our target is to reduce homes in that market so that we can make speedy difference in the lives of our people. In seeking smart solutions to the problems of housing deficit, in the past year, we have been various development agencies who have track records in the provision of affordable mass housing to collaborate with the state government. Our focus is on those who can utilize innovative technology to speedily provide homes for our junior residents. The Lagos State Affordable Public Housing Scheme with Apple Stone and American company Italia is a test case. The technology adopted made it possible for 2 flats, 2 beds to be completed in 14 days. We are working with them to replicate this technology to provide 500 units of homes at the water. We are already revisiting the mortgage law, especially as it was stated in the state, to encourage property developers to have more confidence in developing houses in the state. Already, an amendment bill to the existing law before the State House of Assembly. When passed into law, it will take care of both tenants and the landlords as well as there will be a clear, sharp conflict resolution between the landlords and tenants. This will generate more confidence in the build sector, and the consequent effect will be more investment in the sector. We are engaging various investors to come forward with ideas on how we can attain a single-digit interest rate. This is being done to make home ownership too much attractive to all.
The Lagos State government has announced plans to vaccinate all travelers into the state who turn positive during their quarantine period. The State Commissioner for Health, Professor Akin Abayomi, says the state received more vaccines from the federal government, and individual donors will contain any new infected residents alongside their close contacts.
In addition to the 507,000 doses that we got from the federal government, we've also received in the last few days an additional consignment of 57,000 doses extra of AstraZeneca. These doses we have decided to continue to vaccinate for that's equivalent to vaccination of 28,000 people, because if we are administering 2 doses per person, if you divide 57 by 2, you will get just over 28,000. What we're trying to do now is to use some of these extra vaccines in what we describe as the ring vaccination strategy. So in the center there, you can see an individual that has turned positive. And of course, that individual is isolating at home, typically. Now that makes the members of that household, no matter how careful you are, it makes you vulnerable to contracting the virus. So the ring vaccination strategy, when we get somebody that has turned positive, who has recently returned from abroad, and you have tested positive, then we will be deploying some of the vaccines to vaccinate members of their family, their immediate household, to stop the transmission of the virus from the traveler to family members or people that live in the same home or in the same immediate jurisdiction. So we're hoping that this opportunity to use these extra vaccines that we're getting from Abuja in an intelligent way to really add to our attempt to stop this virus from coming into Lagos. But if it does come into Lagos through a traveler, we stop it from being transmitted to their household members and then from the household members into the community. This is a very effective strategy. It has been deployed in Ebola, it has been deployed in the past with smallpox, and we believe if we're able to deploy it here, it may add to our strategy to reduce the opportunity for Lagosians to experience a third wave.
The state government urges calm amongst the residents while clamoring on the need to maintain safety protocols. Transportation is a major part of any mega city, but in Lagos, most of the roads are dominated by motorbikes, popularly known as Okada, commercial motorcyclists. The state government, as well as relevant agencies and stakeholders, are concerned about this new trend and are calling for a change to that current system. The state government is carrying out an appraisal of security situation in Lagos, with security operatives, political appointees, community and religious leaders present. The policing outfit identifies some areas that are of major concern in the state security sector.
Suspects will include the monitored to immediate taking over the abandoned to uncompleted buildings by the state government. These buildings can be used for developmental projects that will be beneficial to the citizens of the states. It has been established of Okada being illegally used as a veritable means of moving hard drugs from one point to another. Accomplices of Okada in armed robbery gang have also been reported to arrive ahead of armed robbers who are escaping in road vehicles and pass information on police locations and movements.
As people looking to escape attacks in villages and towns, we crowd the urban environment. Lagos now is getting loaded with people running away from what is happening in Okiobu. Lagos is now inundated with people running from various villages because they think they can be better protected under Governor's rule than where they were living in the villages. So the diversity of security interests is in Nigeria, Lagos State in particular, will require an innovative set of solutions.
Religious leaders who took turns to propose solutions concurred that Okada riders are a call for concern and are calling for outright ban.
Imagine what happened 2 weeks ago in Lasso and Alabarago. Because of 200 naira, 500 naira, they killed some people and destroyed people's vehicles, stoning the gates of State University.
A lot of influx, they were coming to Lagos, and we cannot continue to harbor them.
You have shown it since 2019. You can take it a notch further. That is our own belief as community leaders, that you can do it. And we know you will do it. Let us rid our communities of bike riders so that there will be less patients.
The governor, having heard from all guest speakers, promises to take steps to address the issues without creating new ones, especially in the face of insecurity.
As we all know, no society can make progress amid such highly display of lawlessness and criminality. And so, ladies and gentlemen, let me reiterate that our commitment as a government to the maintenance of law and order in our society is sacrosanct. I haven't seen a general trend of hoodlums and miscreants converting abandoned buildings and construction sites within the state into crime heavens, from which they have planned and they've launched several criminal missions. The state government has taken active steps to curb this menace by commencing the full implementation and enforcement of the Lagos State Urban and Regional Planning and Development Law of 2019.
As many await the deployment of the new mode of community transportation, the concern is those who will be rendered jobless and to prevent an increase in poverty and ultimately criminality.
Lagos State is like a melting point all over the country. As the 5th largest economy in Africa, Lagos State deserves this special status. Lagos State has a lot of responsibilities. Lagos State has a lot of things to take care of. So please, our legislators at the Alo Chamber should ensure that the special status for Lagos State is granted and is done as a matter of urgency. Local joints across the state is a big problem. Some of us, we know how this works on the street. Local joints in the state right now is on the increase. Squishes joint, Squishes joint, Quagga joint. And guess what? When these young people, when they go to this local Squishes joint to take this hard substance, guess what? They can do anything. As a matter of fact, they can face a police officer that's carrying ammunition. At that moment, they don't care. So, you see, beyond saying we have issues with hotels and the like, unapproved local joint in Lagos State should be of the past.
The day our politicians decided to do the right thing in this country will fall in place. Sir, your body language today shows that you want us to fight this battle. But if you have called this meeting, you are not here, none of your commissioners is here. I can see leaders in the custom, the immigration, they are not here. Then there is nobody that will see you as being serious in this fight, with due respect, sir. We need to talk from Abuja to Lagos that our body language must be seen as a body language that wants us to fight this battle. Not when it comes to taking decisions or when it comes to discipline people that because of some religious setup, because of some ethnic setup, anybody felt that since I'm a woman I can do this. We need to put some things in place. Enough of us feeling that because I am from Paul or because I'm from Apollo that I can do anything in Nigeria. There should be a standard law that if anybody falls into this law, this is the sanction. And let the sanction be for everybody.
The state government has promised to make adequate interventions to reduce the need for commercial motorcycles in the state. But there are other concerns by relevant stakeholders. They say that many will be rendered jobless by any potential ban on commercial motorcycles across all levels. Let us hope the state government's plans will cater for those and many other concerns that may arise in the days to come. That completes our episode for this week. Until next time, I am Wilson Omoni, and this is Lagos.